Memphis, 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 Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said, I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to Grizz 901, the live post-game show. I am Daniel Greer. Nate will be joining me very, very shortly, but we are presented to you by Bluff City Media. The Grizzlies are coming off of a beautiful, beautiful comeback win. They sucked a lot of the game, but they did not in the very end, and it was a great game. They ended up winning 116-115. I hope you're joining us tonight here, whether you're on YouTube or Twitter. We are now live over on Instagram, Facebook. We're everywhere. And so you're already filling up the comments. I hope you're going to stay with me because we're going to give you 50 good reasons to play Grizz Trivia with us tonight. And so it's going to be a fun-filled show. As you know, we're going to get into the game. We're going to recap that. We're going to talk a lot about Marcus Smart. And then in the second segment, it's going to be Grizz Trivia. And from there, we're going to hit on the rotations. Nate's got a lot to talk about with the rotations. And the last thing is we're going to preview the easy, not very good team, Denver Nuggets. You know, just a cakewalk in the next game. No, but we're going to talk about the Denver Nuggets. It's going to be fun, and we're going to get into that right now. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Yo, what up, Nate?
This many in a row since Chris had no business winning that game.
No business.
We will take it. Oh, listen, I was going to come on here when I thought that the Grizzlies were down and out. It did not feel like a game that the Grizzlies were going to come back. At no point until they came back was like, yeah, they're going to pull this one out. I feel it. I was going to come on here and be like, it was a poorly officiated game both ways, but you know what? Refs figured it out towards the end. They figured it out.
Yeah, as Dak says, the game had too much eggnog. My God, the game was just
wrong
everywhere. But we're going to get into a lot of what happened down the stretch. As I talked about earlier, it's all about Marcus Smart. There was unplayable Marcus Smart, and then there was really clutch Marcus Smart. There's zero in between. And so what a game out of Ja there in the second half. Bane starting off the half, just kind of looking in fuego, just kind of coming out so hot, so hot there. And so shout out to those guys. Unfortunately for you all, Jaren couldn't get that 20th point. So listen, I'm sorry. I was going to do something extra special tonight on the show, but unfortunately he didn't. But as I've teased already, make sure you stay to the Grizz Trivia because we are going to ask one Grizz Trivia question tonight. It's not going to be Nate answering it. It's going to be all of you people here listening. It's the giving season. It's the holiday season. So the first person to answer the Grizz Trivia question gets 50 bones from me tonight. $50. All I want you to do is the first person that answers it correctly, and it will be because you've watched this show. It's not going to be your normal trivia question. It's going to be a trivia question from me and Nate. One of us, you're going to know us. It's going to be a Grizzlies related question, but you're going to get $50 sent over to you, whether it's Venmo would be preferred. Okay. I don't need to be going through all the different apps. I want to send it to Venmo. So we'll hopefully do that. But let's get through a lot of what everybody's talking about as well. As Enzo B, after he did say earlier that the refs wanted us to win. I don't know if I agree with that. The game was drunk enough, but Smart was amazing.
To be clear, on the officiating thing, it was not good both ways. It was inconsistent the entire game. I thought both ways. Like for the Pelicans against the Pelicans, for the Grizzlies against the Grizzlies. But at the end, I was really surprised that the foul got overturned at all on Ja. He got checked all the way to the rim, I thought. So I thought originally there's no way that's getting overturned. And then the foul on Jaren at the end was pretty textbook. Like you pretty much can't hold the guy's arm down when he's going up for a shot. So it was bad both ways. I didn't think it went crazy. one way or the other, but we'll take it. We'll take it.
Dak's already putting in his answers right now. I'm going to limit Dak to one answer tonight. Hamed Haddadi. Sorry. But yeah, man, it was a great game overall. I do have a lot of stats and a lot of stuff. As you all know, I'll show you my notes. I took notes on the rotations. And so these are all the rotations, the different types. And so it will be a lot of that a little bit later on. But we'll get into a lot of the game itself. But listen, let's go ahead and get through the stats real quick. And it's going to be starting off with Jaren. The guy finished with 10 rebounds, 19 and 10. Unfortunately, like I said, one shy. You don't get the extra little bump tonight. But it is important for him. What's your thoughts on Jaren tonight in his game overall?
Listen, I thought he played really, really well. Still gets his hand in the cookie jar too much, but generally speaking, he played well. He just kind of like disappeared.
He did
for half the game, it felt like. But that's part of the rotations, which we're going to get to in a minute. Nice shot, Miles Bridges. About killed a child. Nope, not going to go there. But we need to see more consistently going to that when the offense stalls, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can get to that, right? And part of it is when they have Jonas and Zion on the floor, they're a big and strong team, right? And Jaren typically struggles against guys who are not just big, but strong, right? Yeah. But still, he's able to put moves on those guys, get to it. They can't stop him without fouling. So, yeah, I like this game. I just don't understand why we don't see it consistently. But we'll talk plenty about that once we're talking about who was playing at all tonight.
Yeah, we'll get into that. As Hunt Jardina said, I cannot believe we just won the game. The emotions were literally all over the place. Listen, me and Nate watched it together at the very end, and it was back and forth. Like, you're going to claw your eyes out. You're pissed off. You're happy. But then you're like, all right, stuck in the mud for a majority of that very end of the game. For the simple fact that we reviewed a play that took forever, and then we came back and had another incident to which we reviewed the play, and then we had to have a challenge of the review, even though they already reviewed it. But I get it. You know what? If I'm Willie Green too, I'm using my challenge because what else do you got to do, right? You're gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. So as Jimmy Jones said, very glad to see Jaren get the boards tonight because that's big, man. Anytime that he rebounds very well, then this team does a very good job. Keith, this is very, very big. I know we talked about it as well. Is the out of timeout plays? We talked about this before coming live. Out of timeout plays from Jenkins, but also I don't know if y'all saw this, but at the very end when Smart threw up the lob, if you go back and look at it again, it's the funniest thing. There's three people on one side of the court. So let's say over here we have Smart throwing it in where he is on this side of the court, and then there's Ja and Bane. Well, over here. This side, and you can't even see them in the screen. They're over here with Nate. Like if Nate would put his hand up, that's where they would be at. You can't even see the other two. And I think it was either X or Vince, Jaren. It was two of those three.
Vince and
right?
Jaren.
You couldn't even see them, and literally they're standing in the corner by themselves at the other end when Smart throws it into Bane, who gives it back to Smart, who throws it up to Ja. Listen, I don't know that was very good because simply. You have all that void in the middle that you can run to, but also you're putting your two best players closest to the ball. I think that's a very good play. Let's get through the rest of this lineup real quick. And I know everybody's already put in this comments, and I'm trying to get through them as much as I can. Biombo, a decent game, solid game. You're going against JV, who is a powerhouse, 8 and 7. And then Marcus Smart, like I said, terrible early, but 13. He only had 1 rebound, 3 assists. But those 13 came when he had, I want to say it was 6, 7, 8 in a row. I want to at one point, 8 of the 13. And then Desmond Bane, 27, 4, and 7. He got hot very early in the game, but then completely kind of just cooled off. But you know what's coming. The Grizz #1 player of the game is Ja Morant. 31 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 stocks. I believe he had 2 blocks or 1 block. 2 blocks, yeah. 1 steal and 2 block. If you're a betting person, do me a favor. If it's above plus 200, go ahead for the Ja 1+ block. I've done it every single game, and he's hit all but one game, I do believe. And so it is continuously keep cashing. But Ja Morant, once again, the Grizz #1 player of the game, 31 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 stocks. What's your thoughts on Ja?
Quiet 31. Dude, he was awesome. And it was like he clearly didn't feel very good. Like,
no, none of them have.
The first half, he was clearly cruising through the first half to try and save it for the second half. And you saw him in the third quarter start to turn it on a little bit and then get to it. I mean, that last layup at the end of the game, he probably makes that if he's feeling like himself. I think like it's one of those where it's like freaky that you would expect him to make it. But I was like, oh, how did he not make that when I was watching the replay? Because it's Ja Morant. So
Right.
Awesome game. He had some great finds. There was a couple that probably could have been, you probably could have had a few more assists in there, but awesome game out of him when he clearly wasn't feeling his best. Still found a way to make a 3, which I appreciate. But the defensive effort was really good in the second half. I mean, he turned it on and the team turned it on. So huge game out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, Ja Morant, the Grizz #1 player of the game. Shout out to Ja. Just another, just excellent game out of him. Just overall, he does go quiet a lot throughout the game, but as any player really does, you kind of just get hot and you get going, and then eventually you kind of fall back in because of adjustments from the other team. A lot of this game, it was adjusting to Bane, and at that point, once Bane kind of got adjusted to, it went back to Ja. And then once it got back from Ja and it went to more of, I guess, a little bit of Bane and Ja a little bit, then Jaren was able to get kind of cooking a little bit. It was a little bit of back and forth. And so, once again, Ja Morant, the Grizz #1 player of the game. Let's get into a little bit of our guys that are off the bench. And shout out to everybody pulling up, man. I do appreciate it. The numbers tonight have been great. Nate talked about this before. He talked about his
I talked about this during the game when we were about to hop onto the show. Ja clearly did a conscious effort of not making any gun motions with his hands. So I think you need to shut up, Kenny.
Kenny, shut up, Kenny.
Yeah, shut up, Kenny. Because Ja clearly has matured and made sure to just do thumbs and no gun motions.
I didn't see any
on the Grizz 901 podcast matters. That's analysis.
Shut up, Kenny.
Shut up, Kenny.
Stupid Kenny, bringing up stuff.
I like you better than Daniel.
So yeah, shut up, Kenny. Look at that,
Daniel.
Everybody's getting in here. All right, so yeah, everybody knows we love Kenny. Kenny is the original G of Bluff City Media. He is our main guy. So I don't know how to explain.
Super VIP. Yeah, shut up, Super VIP, Daniel. All right, back on track. Come on. You're supposed to keep me on the rails. All
right, real quick. 18 points out of the bench overall tonight. The Pelicans got 18, 29, 31 points overall from their bench. That's the difference. 31-18. Their bench looked a lot better. Dyson Daniels played very well. 11 points off the bench. Trey Murphy, 10 points off the bench. Jose Alvarado, 8 points, and then Najee Marshall with another 2. So overall, played very well, but our bench has not looked good. They have not been good. Vince is now obviously to the bench. And so hitting, 27 minutes, he did go 3 of 4 overall on the free throw line, 1 of 4 from deep. And so really it was just 1 of 4 overall. So he had 4 3-pointers and that was it. And once again, shout out to Brown on boxing. Hit the like button. Do us a favor. Thank you for the reminder. But last thing I will say is Paris Sharkey just pointed out this, and I was trying to get to this as well. You're talking about the steals. Look at all these stocks on here. 5 from Marcus Smart was the 5 steals. Ja had a steal. Jaren had a steal. Tillman steal. Zaire steal. Vince steal. Let's get to the blocks, which if you're looking for Vince Williams props, they're not on there. No, nowhere. So screw you, books. I've been trying to bet on him all night. But three blocks out of Vince, 1 out of Zaire, 5 out of Xavier Tillman, 1 out of Aldama, 1 out of Bane, 2 out of Ja, 1 out of Smart, 2 out of Biombo, 1 out of Jaren. And then my question is Roddy, what are you doing?
He's trying to figure out if he's going to play or not on any given night, like the rest of the team. Apparently.
Roddy's the only player tonight that played any minutes at all for the Grizzlies that did not have a block.
So we're going to get into that in a second. But first, I want to bring up our guys Hunt. Biz cannot catch the ball. Keith, Biz fumbled like 3 pocket plats. Yeah. The squad's got to get on the jug machine. I said it after last game. You got to get on the jug machine because you got to be able to catch those passes. But still, he's figuring it out. He's learning.
Yeah. So another good game overall. And then, you're talking about, I'll give some love to the Pelicans real quick. Dude, Brandon Ingram is that dude. When you need a bucket, call BI. Like, that dude is just so smooth. And he, honestly, if you want to talk about a quiet, 24 points, a quiet 24
and 7.
It was quiet because he's so consistent.
Dude,
Brandon Ingram is if we had a Brandon Ingram literally as a small forward, power forward, whatever position you want to put him in, that is really what this team lacks. And so we'll get into a little bit of Marcus Smart later because I'm curious how in the world he fits with this team, because I know we saw a little bit of that within him, but I want to see a little bit more of, can he keep that going? What does this team need? Are they too small? We're going to answer a lot of those questions, but what else do you have on this game overall?
I mean, huge second half effort. Part of it is the Pelicans got some stuff to figure out. I mean, that team has so much talent. Like you said, Brandon Ingram, that fadeaway he hit in overtime was so cold. I mean, he hit that and I was like, I don't know. It's a thing of beauty. There's not much to do about it. So between him, Zion, CJ, Trey Murphy.
Yeah, that's what Brown Unboxing just said. Dude, what if we had Trey Murphy?
It makes me sick. It makes me sick. I can't talk about it. Actually, we will talk about it in a minute, I'm sure. But it makes me sick watching him play. But that, and then, I mean, honestly, your backup's Dyson Daniels. I put out in the middle of the game. I got to give him credit. He played really good defense on Ja, I thought, tonight, one-on-one, as well as you can. It's Ja Morant. Like, what are you going to do? So they got so much talent, and they can't figure out how to use it when they get into the clutch. Like, that game was well in hand until the last 3 minutes, really. I mean, every time the Grizz would respond, the Pelicans responded. Every time the Grizz made a big bucket, the Pelicans made a big bucket. All the way until there's 3 minutes left. And then they just couldn't figure it out. So, really good team. But, hey, shout out to the Grizzlies. Like, that's a game that the Pelicans made them win. They didn't just hand it to them, right? But they've got a lot of stuff to figure out with rotations. We're going to talk about the rotations in a minute because I don't know what the hell coach was doing for a lot of that game. But they found a way to get it done, and the names that you brought in to do it, like Marcus Smart, ended up showing why you brought him in the offseason. And we're going to start to see with Ja Morant in the lineup why the front office shouldn't get crucified because they get the actual players they got back in the rotation. But all right, I'm proud of myself for getting through it after I had that comment.
True professional, man. Listen, first of all, shout to Heaven's Healthy Kitchen. You put up a comment at one point on our show on Grizz 901 on our YouTube page. We do upload our show, I want to say roughly, a couple hours after once everything gets loaded up there. You put up a comment. So one, I want to say thank you. Go back to
my bad.
What are we doing?
I accidentally pressed the wrong button.
Thank you.
I got you.
Okay. Anyway, so I want to say one, thank you. And two, Google Heaven's Healthy Kitchen. I believe it's either out of Alabama, I believe, maybe Georgia. I'm not sure exactly where it's originated from. I know you're doing stuff here in Memphis. And so I actually looked it up. I want to say something to you. And so this reminded me. And so one, Heaven's Healthy Kitchen, check it out. But listen, this comment is awesome. I couldn't hold it in very much. But Biz, yes, talking about cooking with grease on his hands, the dude treats the ball like a hot potato. And that's really what it is. Like, Biz he doesn't look comfortable. And so I have liked his addition. I think he's been very crucial for this team. But once I saw the hot potato, man, it got me.
Also good to give a shout out. Actually, not even yet. Just I'm excited for the shout out that I'm preemptively giving to Chris Ingram at Creamman _ Creamman. One or the other on Twitter for the victory laps. I know he's about to be taken because Marcus Smart came up big as the Dylan Brooks replacement. So shout out to that. Also, shout out to Rob Perez again. because he just always has the fun facts. And this one is the Grizzlies just came back to win from a 14-point fourth quarter deficit in New Orleans for the second time in 1 week.
Wow. Those fans are going to be pissed.
Oof, they're going to be mad. I actually feel a little bit bad about that for them. But now the comment I wanted to bring up, I want to talk about this a little bit because and we don't usually talk about the other teams all that much. But that's a Pelicans team that I know there's like a bit of a rivalry because Zion went 1, Ja went 2. But in general, like I like that team quite a bit. As much as we talk about CJ McCollum being a Grizz killer, he broke Mike Conley's face, which obviously hurts our feelings. He's like a genuinely good dude, awesome basketball player, right? So you like a lot of that team.
Right.
I don't think Zion has to do much more to his game because it's sort of like he is the big version of Ja Morant if you're talking about how the dimensions of his game go.
Yeah, but no.
Which is he gets to the basket and he finishes.
That's it right there.
That's all it is. It's 100% predictable.
Yeah.
But I think you got to find ways around to stop to get the team off balance, the defense off balance. Sorry, because you've got CJ McCollum. You can spread the floor out. But listen, we saw it his rookie year. Once he started going to the basket and he hit you with the Beyblade, Pascal Siakam patented spin move, there's nothing you can do really to stop it. I don't know why he doesn't get to it more. He has a little bit of the Jaren look to him from a couple years ago, even last year, where he would get going and then he would almost be afraid he was going to foul or something and he would stop. When the truth is he can get to the basket anytime he wants.
Yeah, but it's the same thing over and over again.
You don't need much more from him though. That's my thing. You don't need that much more from him. I think they as a team have to figure out how to make defenses not be able to key in on it so much. Same thing with Ja Morant. Ja Morant has obviously added to his game a lot more than Zion has, clearly.
All right, let's fix the Pelicans real quick, okay?
At the same time, Ja's going to the bucket. That's what he is doing. Now, can he pass out of it, do a lot more, has a lot more moves? Sure. Here's the thing. Zion is a 280-pound freako that can move as fast as anyone on the court not named Ja Morant. There is no reason he can't get to the bucket and finish time and time again, even if you know what's coming.
Yeah.
It's like Jaren. Jaren got to that move late in the game. Everybody knows what he's doing.
Right.
But they couldn't double him because you can't let them get to Ja in space and you can't let them get it to Bane open on a 3.
Yeah.
Why can't the Pelicans figure that out? I just don't think they've figured it out as a team. Now, am I saying that Zion's as good as Ja? Dog, come on.
I don't listen. We're not comparing. I don't want to even go down the road of comparing the two. I think you compare them because one, they're South Carolina boys. They went in the draft 1 and 2. I understand that. Like, there's a lot of correlation between this. But let's break down Zion's game in general. Listen, I have been I'm a Duke fan. I watched Zion. I watched the blowout of the shoe. I watched every single game he's ever played in Duke, and now I've seen a lot because he is one of my more favorite players because I've followed him for so long.
Yeah, you're weird.
I enjoy watching Zion. What is needed in Zion's game is movement, and that is the biggest thing. Is if you have a little bit more movement in his game, he's less predictable. So how do you get more movement out of somebody who doesn't want to work out, doesn't want to do anything but eat? That's an issue.
I was about to say not eat the table. That's eventually where I was going to bring this thing home to.
Okay, so let's get past that. Let's just say that, hey, he has to get better in shape. Okay, agreed. I think everybody would agree. If you kind of put Zion on a lie detector test, I think he'd say the same thing. How do you get movement out of him? You have to put him in motion. I think that's the biggest thing. And so what you do, in my opinion, is you have to somehow get away from a little bit of JV there doing the screen and roll. JV is awesome doing the screen and rolls. But I think you can split up Zion and JV a little bit more and run Zion out of more pick and rolls. And you don't have to do it every play, but you run him out of pick and rolls. And at that point, if he does catch it and you're closing out, at that point, you have that space that he can create and go by you one way or the other. And you create that movement by him. But also, if he's able to catch that pass into a lob, he's an instant lob threat. He's an instant catch guy who can catch it on the move and go straight to the rim. But also, if he would pass out of that a little bit more, he would be even more, a better version of what he currently is. Even though he's still awesome, no matter what.
Well, That's what I'm saying. They as a team, if you have what they tried to go to at the end of the game, which is shooters all around and Zion, it's a lot harder to stop Zion when the floor's spread out. But it's the same thing, the problem the Grizzlies had.
Yeah.
JV was awesome, but he was taken away from the other guy's awesomeness, right? Like JV is one of those guys who's a great offensive player, but most teams don't need their center to be that great offensive player.
So, okay, as Kenny's saying, Zion works better in broken plays. What is a broken play? It is a pick and roll, because at that point you're changing people off. You're sitting in different matchups, and honestly, it's confusion and it's chaos. That's where he works as the best. So if you can do that, then you can obviously benefit out of that, and I think that's why Zion would be the best in that.
Agreed. But I also think it's the same thing. Ja works a lot better in broken plays and in chaos as well.
Yeah.
And again, I think Ja is way better than Zion Williamson. At the same time, you know what he wants to do, and he still goes and does it. Yep. Zion is there's no reason he can't be dominant unless 100%. He is limiting himself or the team is limiting him. And I think it's a little bit of both. So, like I said, we only say that we don't normally talk about other teams this much. We've kind of gotten off track, but that's a team with a lot of talent that I think we both like, other than obviously the rivalry.
It's also division.
And CJ McCollum obviously hating each other after a couple of games. But it's just one of those things that's kind of weird. And it's you don't really want to see talent wasted like that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. A few comments we're going to get to real quick. I know you pulled these ones up. Heavenly's Healthy Kitchen. So make sure you go check it out. From Memphis, but live in Huntsville, as you say. And he's also talked about a little bit later is there are pop-up shops that are coming through Memphis at times. So if you would, by all means, give us a little bit of info if you ever get a chance. You can follow us over at Grizz 901 Podcast. We'd love to be able to give you any kind of help and send any business your way as we possibly can. We just want to support each other, and that's what it all comes down to. And so thank you for being a listener in general, but also another one from New Jersey, Enzo B.
Shout out
checking
Enzo.
in from way out East Coast. Is it the home of Slow-Mo, Jersey? He's
and Brevin.
Boy. And Brett Brevin's a Jersey boy. Hey, speaking of Jersey, speaking of Brevin, please do me a favor. Go check out Anthony Sain's latest show that he had on Friday. It just came out right before the holidays. If you missed it, Brevin Knight was on there. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Brevin gave his time probably more, I would imagine, more than Kenny and Sain ever thought. So please go check it out at any chance you can. You go listen to Brevin and Sain talk.
They tried to get him to leave, and he said, "No, I'm staying." I got more to say. But seriously, there's a lot of basketball podcast shows out there, a lot of really cool guests that come on. I think Brevin was the most insightful and refreshing interview I'd watched in a long time. The dude's 100%. Basketball IQ. We get to see a little bit of it while he's obviously calling the games. But, man, hearing him completely unfiltered, just getting to talk basketball was awesome, man. If you love the Grizzlies, if you love basketball, it's worth a listen. It was awesome. So
for sure. All right. I think we've hit on that game a little bit. The Grizzlies win 116-115. I want to talk a lot about Marcus Smart. Also want to talk about the rotations. I don't want to get too far past that, but I think we're about midway through the show right now. So let's go ahead and we're going to take about a minute break, not too much, and then we're going to get into after that. We're going to come right back to Grizz Trivia. If you stay this long enough, 1, thank you. 2, I promise you, $50 to the person who can answer this Grizz Trivia question. It will be coming at you live right after this. So stay just for a minute, not too long, for a minute. We'll be right back.
People have this thing I'm keeping the receipts, and I'm going to remember who said this. We wasn't lying.
Well, I get it. Yeah. So that's one. I've reached a point where anything you say on Twitter, I can ignore it.
Right.
I'm not promising you I'll never pop back at somebody. Sometimes I do. I might today, but I often don't. I would say for every 50 negative comments I get, I might reply to 1. I don't get involved.
I'm getting there too, man.
Yeah, but you don't look like you're getting there. I see you arguing all day long every day. You got to wait there, man. You got a ways to go.
Well, I might get more. Well, I don't get as many as you.
Well, how about this? And I'm not saying you have to get there. I'm just saying I am there. There are different ways to handle social media. I just found it to be largely unproductive. Right. But I
do it for calisthenics sometimes.
Right.
Like I don't feel no way. I just okay. Let me just engage in this just for fun.
Yeah.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Yo, welcome back to Grizz on a One Live Postgame Show. Your favorite live postgame show. Probably we're the only one, but it's okay. You're still your favorite. If you do me a favor in the morning, go check out our friends over at the Daily Grind. Luke, I saw that. Don't want to miss it too much. Here it is, the Daily Grind. So coming on at 9 o'clock in the morning. Don't forget, if you know that I'm out of breath, I literally just ran across all the way to the other end of my house, and I found another water because I was out. So that's why I'm out of breath. So I apologize.
Subtle brag about the size of the house, maybe.
No, it's just literally through the garage, through the laundry room, out there. That's where we keep our water and our drinks. So, all right, real quick, let's go ahead and get to it. This is Grizz Trivia. It's the holiday season. It's the giving season. We want to go and show a little bit of love from us to you. As I said, no bonus tonight because we were 1 point short from Jaron. But we're here. So, Nate, I'm going to go ahead and let you do the Grizz Trivia because you are the guy who I always pick on, the guy I'm always asking the question to. So tonight, it's your question. First person who answers it in the comments, just hit us up over at Grizz 101 Podcast on Twitter. Give me your Venmo, and I will send you 50 bones tonight.
Yeah. And to be clear, it's only the first person that gets it, right? Okay. I want to make sure to clarify for your bank account's sake and your marriage's sake. Yeah, also before we get into that, I've done pretty well with Grizz Trivia. I get picked on a lot. I'm actually batting like a little above 500, which is for me is pretty impressive. I don't know Grizz history at all, pretty much prior to 2011. So
yeah,
shout out to me. Go Mounties. But this episode or this edition of Grizz Trivia is more personal. So it's a little bit different. We're not going to ask you about Grizz history or anything like that. This is going to be for the people who have frequented the show a little bit more. But even if you haven't, it's worth giving it a guess. Nate's favorite Grizzly of all time is blank. Go for it.
All right. First one in the comments to give us Nate's first Grizzly of all time. It could be the active. It could be the former. And as we see that some are coming in now, and you know who it is.
Of course, it's the one that got it. Luke, we weren't going to give you the $50 anyways, but Luke comes in a close second. Do we go ahead and throw it out there? Xavier Henry. Kenny Stubblefield is wrong. Shut up, Kenny. Nick Calathis, also so wrong. Courtney Lee, not quite as wrong, but still wrong. Melton, I did start a Melton Twitter account. It's actually how I got back on Twitter after high school because I loved Anthony Melton. Couldn't figure out why they didn't play him. The account was called Play the Anthony Melton.
Ivan Rabb. Wow.
But
hey, listen.
The winner is
go ahead and say
your guy. Winner. It's always on the same wavelength as me. It's Mr. Dak Daniels 95. Dak, I should have known if you were in here. It wasn't a fair contest. Mike Conley, man, the conductor. Love Mike Conley. Still love Mike Conley. Still want him to be back and be John Morant's backup one day. It's my dream come true as a Grizz fan. So shout out Dak. Shout out Moneymaker Mike. Always welcome back in Memphis.
Always. So, Dak, if you would just go over to Grizz 101 Podcast, give me a DM of your Venmo. I will send it to you live on the air if you can get it to me then. If not, I'll get it to you whenever I get your DM. But I will say is for the simple fact is, one, I hope you all understand how much we do appreciate you. Mm-hmm. Anytime we can do a little bit of a giveaway, I'm going to try to have more fun with this. I talked to Mark, who is with Bluff City Media, and he suggested maybe doing some jersey giveaways, some ticket giveaways, some stuff throughout the year. Great idea. If there's something that you have that you're thinking that might actually be helpful for us pushing out, I guess, the show in general, but also just kind of creating a little bit of something that we can give out a little appreciation. But the simple fact that we have Do we have people? I've never seen a comment by Quinn Hill. Thank you. I've never seen your name through here. Metallic 307, Sir Snipes. And there's people that I haven't seen. This person, A. Listen, shout out to you, A. But listen, it's so much. It's so much that we do appreciate. But let's go ahead and get into more of the game in general. And let's get to the Marcus Smart of it all. And I know you had something pulled up. You started earlier from Joshua Asplin.
Yeah.
About having Marcus Smart down the stretch. It's crazy for thinking that you should not have played tonight for chemistry reasons. Like, one, I think you have to play in general. So I think he's miswording it. But should have been maybe not started him, but maybe play him over throughout the game. I guess that's what he's talking about. So you bring him off the bench, get him involved into the rotation a little bit, and then maybe you can start him and play more into the Nuggets game as he's suggesting.
We're going to talk about some of the craziness of the rotations tonight. That's happening.
Okay.
This
but we're
is
talking
not
about
gonna
Marcus
be part
Smart.
of it. This is not going to be part of it. I get it because Vince has been so great and the rotations with Ja have been working, but you brought Marcus Smart on for a reason, and it wasn't just because you couldn't not bring anybody, right? Like, you brought Marcus Smart in because it's a dude who has been to an NBA Finals, has played as many playoff games as a lot of this roster has played games. Like, the dude knows how to win and has proven it time after time after time. He's a former defensive player of the year. Now, if you want to say he shouldn't have started tonight, I can understand where you're coming from and say, hey, I actually get that from a chemistry standpoint. At the same time, it comes back to the same thing. You brought Marcus Smart in to be a championship piece. He's not coming off the bench. It's not happening. And then what happened was over the course of one game, he showed you why, right? So I understand the sentiment. Vince is like the prototypical 3-and-D wing, young dude, has given you all kinds of awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Since he's come into the lineup. At the same time, we're talking about Marcus Smart. Like, he's a championship piece. And I've seen the stuff going around Twitter like, hey, let's just try and boost that trade value, kind of move him at the dog. Like, if something unbelievable comes up, okay. But in general, you don't trade a championship caliber level player to get a 3-and-D wing. Like, he's more than that. You saw him bring more than that. His head for the game, his veteran presence, he made winning plays because he is a winning player, and that's why you brought him in. So there was some goofy stuff that happened in rotations tonight. That's not one of them. So I understand the Vince hype and everyone being excited about Vince. I think you should be. I think the way they're trying to use him, they tried to use him initially today, was driving me crazy. Yeah. At the same time, like, you're bringing Marcus Smart in, and you got to bring him in at some point. And so why not just throw him straight into it? Again, you're not bringing Marcus Smart off the bench.
No, and there's a lot of people talking about just in general of, how they would see it playing out. And Quinn is the same thing. Like, just kind of once you get Adams back, it does look a lot better. But so my thinking, this is just me in general. I don't know if you need Marcus Smart as much as you thought you did prior to getting some play out of Vince, some very good play out of Vince. I'm not saying you don't need him. I think that you can go and find somebody that is a little bit better at a position that you lack, which is a little bit more size, right? But I also think I'm going to give it time. It is it's a stay away. It's a pause for me. As you saw, he was unplayable in the first half. He was okay outside of that little stretch. And then towards the end of the game, he made very good, as we can say, smart decisions towards the end of the game, pun intended. But I will say that's what you need him for. But I'm not saying Vince does all of that, because Vince does struggle on the offensive end, but he brings more energy to this team. I just look at it on both sides. I think Vince has more energy, and I think he plays better with Ja. Marcus is very much methodical, and he does his thing. He does a lot of good things right. I also think, like I just said, you have to take a step back because he is coming back. They're trying to work out their rotations. They're trying to work out playing along with each other in a sense. And so I I would love to see him off the bench. I don't believe it's ever going to happen, but I think the best version of this team would be having him off the bench. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. Ever. Never.
Daniel. Is Marcus freaking smart, dude? And he's not Derrick Rose's age.
But
what
he's
are we
not,
talking
he's
about,
not that good. Like, let's pump the brakes on Marcus
Dude.
Smart. He's fine.
Are you
He's not-
serious?
He's not great. No, he's not great.
Daniel,
He's
he comes
fine.
in. What does Vince Williams do that Marcus Smart doesn't do for you?
That Marcus Smart doesn't.
What's he do?
He's much cheaper.
Okay, that doesn't answer any question.
No, it does, because then you put him in.
Daniel, this is asinine.
What?
Marcus Smart was making winning defensive plays the entire game. The only reason anyone was mad was because he wasn't hitting shots. What are we talking about, dude? He was stripping BI. He was guarding Zion Williamson.
I agree.
He's guarding CJ McCollum. Hell, you put him on JV's ass, he's going to guard him. What are we talking about? I understand the Vince hype, and I love it. But, dude, there are levels to this. And this is like Vince Williams has played his way into a roster spot. Dog, I might have to come to Memphis and check on you if you think that Vince Williams should be starting over Marcus Smart. What are we talking about?
No. I'm not saying he should start over him. That's not where I'm coming from.
You just said the ideal version is Marcus Smart coming off the bench. Are you saying you go get somebody else?
If it was me, I would say that as this team is continuously growing and becoming a better team, I think the way that Vince is playing, I think you can actually slide Vince into that spot that Marcus Smart is holding. You can send out Smart and bring back something you actually really need that this team doesn't have.
Like what?
I don't know. For a suggestion of, let's just say Brandon Ingram.
I'm
not saying we can get that. I'm saying that type of a player, somebody who can go more DeRozan, that type of player. I'm just saying, if I had to say the best version, like I said, I'm pumping the brakes on all of it because it's the first game back.
The best version of this team is this team plus Steven Adams, plus Brandon Clark. What? No.
Listen, I agree. This is a crazy argument, guys.
If they had their current roster, this is not a discussion. Like, what do you want? Like Brandon Ingram, who we just talked about how awesome of a scorer he is,
right?
But they can't ever win.
No, I agree.
There's a reason.
My thinking is I think you can close with him, but as of right now, I'm having hesitations on the way it is looking early.
Well, dude, that's because Taylor Jenkins played Zaire's bum ass for 15 minutes or whatever it was with Vince, with Santi, and then decided, hey, Santi's the problem.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's why I look goofy tonight. It's always going to look goofy when you bring guys back in.
No, I agree. And like I said, one thing, I think somebody's asking about a discount for Bluff City merch. I believe it's Xmas 23. If it doesn't work, let us know. Hit me up in the DMs. But I don't know. And as a lot of people are saying as well, you're talking about offensively. I don't need anybody from the offensive end for the most part. I really would like the bench to get better. That would come with, you're talking about Luke being healthy, Clark being healthy, all of that. So I understand all of that, but I also think I'm curious on how this team meshes together. I just don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm curious. Like, they've got some stuff to figure out.
Whoa.
Like,
all right, listen. You thought you thought I was crazy. BJ Berryhill, you just won tonight because I am not that crazy. I'm not that crazy.
No, Daniel just thinks that TA and Concha are basically the same.
They are.
That's the only thing. You and BJ need to hang out and have some discussions. No, okay. Everyone's curious because when we get to the rotations, Kennard coming back doesn't just fit. Right? Like, he doesn't just slide in anywhere, especially with Vince back, right? Yeah. Now, you're going to find ways to get Kennard minutes because you need the shooting, and it's going to be on the floor with Ja. And so you got to figure that stuff out. But Kennard might be the piece you decide you want to move, right? And something like that. But Marcus Smart getting moved doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me at all. At the same time, if you're saying you're curious about what the bench is going to look like once Kennard gets back and how these wing minutes are going to sort out, I'm curious too. But I think honestly, the guy who I think could end up being the odd man out is going to be Luke, depending on the night. Just because Vince brings a defensive aspect that you don't take out of the lineup. Whereas Luke, if he's not hitting shots, you can put anybody in that spot and they're more productive, right? So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, Marcus Smart off the bench and putting Vince in the starting lineup is just, you've been on Grizz Twitter too long, man. You got to call the number. You got to call the number.
I'm not saying I want that to happen. I'm saying it's the best version of the Grizzlies, like in particular. But as you all know, I could care less who starts. Care less. It's all about the rotations to me in general, because you can close with anybody. I think the best version down the stretch is going to have a little bit more of Vince in it. It's also going to have Smart in it as well. And a lot of times, if they're not as big as the Pelicans are, you're going to see Smart alongside of Vince. And then you're going to have Jaren in the game next to two deadly offensive players and Bane and Ja. That's what you're going to get to down the stretch, 100%.
You know what I think is actually going to low-key get pretty sexy? Pause. Smart, Vince, Jaren, Luke, insert player 5. I think that lineup gets nasty because Smart has not looked great running the offense this year. I think we've all seen that. But you put him on a floor with other defenders like Jaren and Vince, and then a guy someone has to stick to the way people have to stick to Kennard.
Yeah,
I think that's a lineup I'm going to look forward to watching. Now, we just got to talk about, is Taylor going to get to it, or is Zaire going to be in there? Because that's the only player I don't want in there.
It's so tough.
Let's talk about it, man. What the hell was that?
Yeah, let's talk about rotations real quick. And let me clap back. Let me clap back real quick. And that's the whitest thing I probably have ever done. But let me clap back real quick at Kenny about me not putting up the comments. One, I was in the middle of the conversation, and I'm not trying to read all the comments. I'm trying to listen, and I'm trying to stamp what I'm trying to say. So, Kenny, shut up. No, I literally, sometimes I forget that the comments are going so fast I can't read them. So I just look the other way, especially if I'm in the middle of a conversation. But I'm trying, guys. I might have just ignored them for a little bit when I was going. And as Paris, cap you. I don't even know what that, don't even know how to
cap you.
I don't even know what that means.
It just sounded bad.
Yeah, that was bad. My bad. No big cap. All right, so let's quick go through this. So let me just go through the first half, because I have all of the stats here with all the times. I don't want to bore you to death with everything, but mainly the main lineup. So what they were doing is at the 5:50 mark in the first and the third, they were going out with Ja and Smart together. So they were pairing them together, and they were bringing in Vince and Zaire, which are running with Bane, Jaren, and Biz, right? At that point. So I guess you're sending out a little offense, right? And you're bringing in some more defense with Vince and Zaire. I don't know why Zaire is in the rotation, but I think that'll take care of itself because, honest to God,
why are they playing at the same time in the first place?
Is who playing at the same time?
Zaire and Vince. It makes no sense.
Why?
Here's where it makes sense.
Why is that so bad?
Here's where it makes sense. On paper, you got two tall, long wings on the court at the same time who theoretically can shoot and make shots. What you actually have is Vince, who we are going to give him the benefit of the doubt because of how amazing he's been defensively. And he's hit a few shots, but he's not a guy that you go to in the corner and you just think it's going in every time. And Zaire, my man got so afraid on a fast break when Ja was on the court, he just decided, I don't want to do this anymore, and gave it back to the Pelicans. He literally threw it. 2 Pelicans could have gotten it, 0 Grizzlies.
So the problem is with all these, no sense. With Zaire in general, like the thought of him is great. The length of him on defense is great, but he does nothing consistently to help you win.
If he's not on the floor with Ja Morant, he had nothing.
No,
he had nothing.
I agree.
Nothing, dude. He almost killed a child tonight. Him and Miles Bridges both.
But you're
almost
also
killing children in the crowd.
You're also looking at this though and thinking, all right, they're going to figure out rotations. Rotations are changing all the time.
Of course.
Credit to Jenkins and staff. They are doing a decent job sometimes. I know that we're under a microscope looking at this, but the simple fact is that's got to be a tough job because you're trying to figure out which of these guys are working together or not working together. I don't know. Do you go and see, hey, is it size you want to put alongside Ja? Do you want to, it's so tough. And so I don't envy that position. I know they're getting paid millions to do it, but I'm looking at this saying, all right, why did Roddy not play for a few days? And then now he's playing, but then he's playing and looking great. So what do you do next game?
And then you pull him again and you put Zaire back in. That's what I'm saying, dude. What are we talking about?
Right.
Dude, it's like I get figuring out rotations. This is not figuring out rotations. This is you're in the middle of a game. One guy clearly doesn't have it. He's literally throwing to the other team on a fast break. That is the only play I needed to see tonight to know that guy's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
Then David Roddy comes in, actually plays pretty well, and next thing you know, Zaire's back in the game.
So do you think Roddy's playing well, overall, or do you think he was good for that little short stretch of time?
No. Okay. We haven't seen him enough to know. That's the part I kind of get. It's not like Roddy outplayed Zaire before Ja came back and earned that spot. So I don't know. I don't have an issue with Zaire getting the minutes. But here's my thing. Okay, you put Roddy back in. He looks like the Roddy we had last year in the first little bit that he got. Right. And I'm going to bring up Kenny's comment.
I knew you would.
Not only is he playing there than Zaire tonight, he's just better. We saw it last year. There's a reason Zaire wasn't in the rotation and Roddy was. And Zaire came back this year. He's shown you basically 10 total minutes of game time where he's looked like that flashes that we've seen. But Roddy, we saw it from an entire thing, Roddy. What are we talking about? You put him in tonight. He looks like the guy he was last year. But my problem, again, isn't the one guy gets minutes, one doesn't. It's one guy gets minutes, doesn't have it. You go to the other guy. Then you go back.
Yeah. I don't listen, also, I don't understand it either. But
no, we're not done with this.
No, we're not.
You also run Vince, Zaire, and Santi out there at the same time, which is gonna work. And I don't know, a universe where they got the Monstar ability and stole other people's talent.
Did you see the trainer took the Monstar out of Marcus Smart? That's why he got
That's why I was in my head. Yes, I did. Back to the point. Then you decide Santi Aldama, who's one of your 7 best players, is the problem, and he only gets 9 minutes tonight. What, dude? Unless Santi got whatever Ja had mid-game and decided he just didn't have it because he was sick. There's no reason Santi Aldama on this team should get 9 minutes on a given night.
All right. So, question, just as honest as possibly could, because this is all hard to figure out just in general.
Agreed.
If it was you, would you go and keep the 10-man rotation, or would you go to 9 or maybe even 8?
There's a part where you want to try and figure some stuff out, but if you want to win games, you go to 9. Right. Because those minutes need to be going to Vince. And again, the reason it kind of made sense to spread those minutes out with Roddy and Zaire tonight is because Santi only got 9 minutes. Santi is too good for you to get single-digit minutes unless something's wrong. He looked bad.
He looked bad tonight.
He looked bad.
What I will say,
Daniel, he is one of those top 7 for you. He is every night, no matter what.
All right, let me put something out there. Who had an illness tonight and was out of the game?
I actually don't know.
John Conchar. Who's his best buddy? As you saw in that stupid clip they put out, that was very good.
That could be the reason.
I'm curious.
That's the only reason that's okay.
I'm curious if it was a sickness, because I do know that Marcus Smart was sick last week. I believe flu is running rapid through the NBA in general, through sports. I do think that it was. I'm not saying it. Whatever. I don't want to give it excuses. I'm just saying in general, just something to think about and put it back in your mind, because things could change, especially through this little stretch of a week or so. These guys supposedly are very sick. One guy, I don't know who they were referencing on the commentary tonight with Pete and Brevin. They said that he was a game time decision, a late game time decision, had to pass the temperature check.
Who was?
I want to say it was Herb Jones on the other side.
Yeah, listen, if he was sick,
just in general,
again, that's okay. But there's one reason in the world it's okay, and that's it. And if he played, I'm having a hard time believing that he was sick. And a lot easier time believing they're trying to figure out how to make Zaire work.
So I got a question. All right. So just hear me out real quick. So if you're talking about the minutes rotation, Santi had 9. Okay. So Keith says that Ja was the late ad, potentially, that he had to pass the temperature check.
Ja was feeling sick.
So yeah. So I think that's what I heard as well. I think I heard something about them as well. Whatever. Anyway, Brown Unboxing, listen, talking about carrying the water. Listen, hit that like button, baby.
What can Brown do for you?
Yeah. Dude, love it. So hit the like button. We would appreciate that. But also just hit the subscribe button. We're going to continue this because it is good conversation and we haven't talked. We missed a show. So maybe this is a longer show than normal.
Yeah.
But let's get through this just in general. But 9 minutes for Santi, right? So X had 28, more than normal. But Biyombo, the fact is that they had 53 minutes out of Biyombo and X is a little overstepping. I think that you're going to see that fall down just in general because of the size of the other team. But Zaire with 12. I'm okay with 12 for a guy who isn't that great. That's fine with me. Like if you have somebody to mesh and get some rest, but you're also having Ja and Bane both playing 40 and Jaren playing 39 minutes.
My problem isn't the 12. The problem is how it got there. Like the lineup was Zaire and Vince. And who was it? Zaire, Vince, Santi, Ja.
Santi, Bane, and X were a lot of the game as well. They closed the first half. And then Ja came in and went Ja, Vince, Zaire, Santi, X.
Ja, Vince, Zaire, Santi, X.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Dog. That in what world? In what world? You have 0 threats outside of Ja Morant. As much as you can sit there and say, hey, Vince is knocking down a bunch of shots, which he's knocking down more than Zaire. I feel better when it comes out of his hands than when it comes out of Zaire. So I'll give you that. He's not creating. Like he's not doing anything other than catching and shooting. Zaire, again, while Ja's on the floor, looks good sometimes, but for the most part, like when he has the ball in his hands, I'm just afraid. I think the only person more afraid than me is him. So like it just, I don't like how he got there. And I don't like that you started out here, you went to Roddy had it, Zaire didn't, and then you went. Made no sense. That made no sense to me. And again, if they're filling in because Santi's in the game plan and he's sick, it's the only reason any of this can be okay.
Brown Unboxing,
it's a mess.
Yeah, Brown Unboxing bringing up a very crucial part of this is the OT minutes are the reason that you're talking about 40 for Ja Bane and Jaren, and so that's a good looks by you. But I will say that if it was me, I'm looking at the other side too. So that's what I always see is like I know we see our team. If you're looking at the other side, what's the other side look like? You're looking at 14 minutes for Najee Marshall, Alvarado 12, Dyson Daniels 19, and 36 from Trey Murphy. So what you're pretty much doing is you're running 6 guys for majority, and then you're just somehow intertwining 3 other guys to make a 9-man rotation. If it was me, I'm playing a 9-man rotation. I don't like the 10. That 10th guy actually kind of screws up a lot of your rotations because you have one other guy that just nothing seems to fit. 8 minutes is fine. I'm okay with eight guys at the minutes number, but then you get to 9, it's okay. Who is the 9? Kenny asked me. Let's go ahead and give it to you now. I'm going to go through it real quick. So you got Ja Baron and Bane. Ja Jaren.
Ja Baron.
Ja Jaren.
Good nickname.
Ja Jaren and Bane. Okay. And then you got Biz and Smart. And then you're going to go, obviously, Vince, Santi, Roddy, Conchar. That's what I would do. What say you?
Sorry, I thought we were talking about who played 9 minutes tonight. Jaren, Biz, Smart, Ja, Dez, Santi, Vince, X. That's our 8, right? Santi, Vince, X, yeah. 8, and then Conchar. I mean, Roddy has a chance to break in. I'm done with the Zaire experiment. I
100%.
I
I
am.
do not like Zaire.
Like I understand, like, there's flashes, but there's always been flashes. And then there's just like Zaire gives me nothing that Vince doesn't give me.
Yeah. And
And he honestly gives me nothing Roddy doesn't give me. Like, the defensive length in theory is great, but I think Roddy makes for it when effort and honestly confidence.
Yeah.
So
and when I say Roddy, all right, let's just me being very honest. I think Conchar's played very well. When he hasn't played very well, then honestly, I'd say you can easily put in Roddy. I think there's the 3 guys that you could kind of move in and move out, and that is Roddy, Conchar, and X. I think you can, depending on the matchup, I think you can easily just slide in one of those guys out of the rotation and one of those goes in. So if it's a bigger unit, then maybe you go X over Roddy or X over Conchar. And I just think that's fine. And as you're talking about Kenny, he's saying that, the lows of Roddy isn't that bad. It's the ceiling is the floor is much higher than Zaire. Zaire can actually kill you a little bit. But either way, I'm not a big Zaire guy.
I saw someone earlier. I don't know who it was. I apologize. I saw your comment, but I forgot to save it. Roddy knows who he is. Zaire looks like he still doesn't know if he's an NBA player.
Right.
No, I'm not, and I'm honestly not even trying to be a jerk about it. It genuinely looks like that. So, and that's what's going to be interesting is you get Rose and Kennard back. I feel like Rose is there to be an 11th man.
Yeah.
Well, I just think his body's not there. If I had to guess.
So let's talk about this last thing. And Sane just brought this up. Make sure you go check out Anthony Sane's show Wednesdays and Fridays at noon. But he's talking about Tillman. Tillman does play well with Jaren. That is an understood thing. Bismack has played okay, but he can't catch well, especially with Ja. So do you possibly use Tillman in the starting role at this point and then maybe put Biz on the backup and let Biz be that guy who can come off the bench and just be the guy who needs a rebound, get his 18-ish minutes instead of playing that main role that it's a starter?
Yeah, I think so. I just honestly, it's going to be one of those, like, go with whoever's working between those two. Like, X was awesome tonight, so it's really easy to say to throw him in my opinion. Generally speaking, it's, if X doesn't have it, if he's getting dominated again, I think that's part of what, if his body can hold up, is a part of. Like, is he going to be able to, one, keep up? Like, is the other center going to be too quick or just too straight up big for him?
Yeah.
The other part of that is most centers are probably too quick or too big for Biyombo at the same time. So it's kind of going with whoever works at that point. It might be one of those where you just say, screw it. We're going Ja, Bane, Smart, Vince, Jaren.
Okay.
Well, that 5, right? But I think you kind of start one of them and then you just figure out who's working on a given night. I mean, tonight it was X is working, Biz isn't. I tend to think X probably works a little bit better when they're moving the ball a lot and then better with Ja. But swear to God, he jacks up another 3 in the corner. I'm going to lose my mind. He did it again tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, you know what? It is what it is. At that point, you do go with the hot man. I believe that's true and true. All right, let's go ahead. I just sent
anything other than the Vince, Zaire, Santi at the same time lineup. Anything
but that.
Just drink bleach if I see it again.
Promise.
At least I kept the game on. At least Laravia's not playing anymore.
My God, if we have another Laravia Zaire lineup,
game's turning off. I'm a man of my word.
We're gonna quit. Let's get real quick to another minute break, or 42 seconds, our shortest one of this so far. We're going to get to the Nuggets preview for Thursday night. We'll be right back.
Has FAU somersaulted over a lot of other teams as like your most aggravating fan base?
Oh, easily. They just think they are so elite because they made this one run. You won this one fluky ass game where there were 6 or 7 different calls. Everyone we're up in arms about like what are we talking about? And it's not like a thing where they're like, hey, Memphis, great game. You guys are great competitors. I can't wait to see what the future holds between us. Because if they said that, I would respect them. I don't respect FAU fans. I don't.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, we are back. Nate, what's your thoughts real quick on the Memphis Tigers situation? Tigers Untapped, always go check out the show. Another big win out of them, going over Vanderbilt. You're on mute, you big dummy. Big idiot. Bunch of moron. Take yourself off mute.
There we go. Sorry. I was saying Tigers fans always mad about something, huh? But no,
and canceled.
By who? Tigers fans? Listen, I grew up on the Tigers, all right? I was in the pyramid calling refs Goldilocks. I was a Tigers fan before I was a Grizz fan, so whatever. Anyways, I actually thought it was a good win over Vanderbilt. That was a trap game.
Here you go.
Clemson.
Beep, beep.
What?
Beep.
What am I doing?
Is you backing up from your comment.
What was my comment?
Talking trash about the Tigers. Now you're gonna just go ahead and
I wasn't talking trash about the Tigers. I was saying Tigers fans always mad at somebody about something. What are we, dude? If you want to count on something, it's waking up and seeing Tigers fans mad at somebody over something. Always got a chip on their shoulder if they put there themselves, and usually you see them over there trying to lick up whatever's left of the chip too once they're done. But the Tigers basketball team itself, Penny's got himself a team, and I thought that Vandy game was a trap game after they beat the brakes off Virginia. So good for them getting the win. And I'm kind of pissed off at the committee on behalf of diehard Tigers fans for only having them at 19 behind Clemson again. I don't know how you beat Clemson, go and beat the absolute dog piss out of Virginia, and then you're still ranked behind Clemson somehow. So
yeah,
good on them.
I agree. They're playing very well. Kenny's saying they are sick right now. Kind of the same thing. Flu is just running rampant right now through hospitals in general. So if you could use some hand sanitizer, maybe put a mask on if you need to, whatever it is. Once again, if we see Vince, Santi, and Z, just take bleach shots. Not a big deal. Bleach shots for everyone. All right, let's get into the Denver Nuggets. The game is Thursday. The Grizzlies have a back-to-back, both late nights, 8 o'clock start time, Central Time for the Nuggets game on Thursday, and then Friday the Clippers start at 9:30. It will look different for me. I will make sure I am here on the show, doing the show. I believe you will as well, Nate. I don't think we've actually discussed our lineup this week, but we are both going to be here. It will look different for me. You will not see this behind me. We have family coming in town again, and so I'm going to figure out where I'm going to move my recording space to. It could be outside. I hope not. It could be
Salt Lake City.
Could be somewhere else. So if it looks a little different, I do apologize, but it will look a lot different behind me. Let's get to the Denver Nuggets real quick. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us as always. The Denver Nuggets are 22-10 currently, 12-2 at home. The Grizzlies are going on the road against a team that is playing very well. And the last 10, they're 8-2 on a 5-game win streak. And so I'm not sure exactly who they have. Let's look at this. They're off. So they played on Monday against the Warriors, and now they don't play again until Thursday with the Grizzlies. And so at that point, the Grizzlies are going to have an overnight trip in Denver. Not ideal, as they say. But hopefully we don't have the same incident happen. But a little bit on the Nuggets.
DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash only, dude. Stay out of. Can you get a? I almost said something really bad.
Yep.
I'm gonna stay away.
Bad
thoughts. I'll put it in our private chat. Thoughts on the Nuggets.
Well, you gotta hope Jokic. The last full game I watched Jokic play, he could not make a shot in the second half. I think I was a bad luck charm. So hopefully I stay a bad luck charm for him. But I do. Nobody can guard Jokic. Period. Right? Like, he's just unbelievable. I don't know what. Oh, dang it. Still DoorDash. Nobody can just guard straight up Jokic and just you call it a day.
Yeah.
At the same time, I've always thought Jaren was pretty well suited to guard Jokic. He had the one stop against him to seal a win a couple years back, I think. But he's just Jokic doesn't bully you, right? He finesses you. Now, he's going to finesse everybody. He's just that good. And he has moves that you can't defend. At the same time, Jaren, if he can just stay high, if he can just keep his hands out of the cookie jar, I think he's really well equipped to defend Jokic. So I think you can kind of mix it up, let Jaren play onto Jokic a little bit, and maybe even put him matched up against him. Yeah. And then go from there. And then let the other guys, if the other guys beat you, it is what it is. But you kind of go one-on-one, and then if Jokic starts killing you, get double. But I like the matchup. I really do. So we'll see. The key is keeping him out of foul trouble. He just can't reach down, man. He did it again all night tonight. I know we get mad about the Jaren muscle, but my God, does the dude just grab and yank and flail. Like tonight, I'm looking every time he's got his hands down. And I'm like, dude, you are the longest dude on the court. Just put your hands up, man. Yeah. Because I don't know why he doesn't do it. I don't know if no one's coached him to do it. He clearly doesn't listen to Grizz 901 podcast, which is a shock.
Clearly.
But if he can just stay high and not get into foul trouble, I really like the matchup. So, and Parrish brings up the other point, which is don't let Jamal Murray beat you. Now, there's going to be nights where that team is that team for a reason. If Jamal has it, Jokic has it, Porter has it, Aaron Gordon has it, who I've watched all year and been really unimpressed with as far as him having the perimeter game he had last year. You're screwed unless you get some monster games out of your big three. But I'll be excited to watch it. I think it's a matchup they'll show up for. Truly, I think it's one they'll show up for. One thing that'll be interesting is Ja's wind, though. True. Yeah. Or two. If he's sick, then if he's sick,
just keep him in the hotel room, and go ahead and send him out to LA or something. Just keep
my guy Daniel just texted me Hodash.
That's what I didn't want to say. Was
DoorDash and Hodash.
Yeah, I didn't know if Hodash was frowned upon, but maybe you can call it up. Maybe there's an app for that. Let's get into let's get a little bit more to this. Looking at this game in general, the minutes is what I look at. You're talking about all their starters, their five guys are going for 32 minutes on a normal night in the game. So if you're looking at the two matchups, I think X plays a pivotal matchup in this to Joker, because I think he matches up very well compared to what Bismack Biyombo can do. I think Bismack can rebound well, because they had in their last game, Gordon, Porter, and Jokic both went for 10 plus rebounds. And so that is big for them. But honestly, out of those 34 rebounds, the rest of the team combined for 9. And so it's really those three that are staying, within the perimeter of the rebounding area. But really it's Jokic and Murray. And then you're going to have KCP is going to blow up from the 3-point line. And Porter Jr. is going to shoot some as well. And so there's not much that you can look at this and be like, I don't know what they're going to do. You know what Denver is going to do. And just in general, it's just how can you contain them? And so you can't have Murray and Jokic go off. Okay. The other guys are fine. They're going to get theirs. It's just you can't get beat by KCP just blowing up. And so as BJ Bearhill says, is what is their weak spot? Honestly, they don't have a weak spot. Let's just be honest. They have a very, very, very good lineup.
You cannot stop them. You can only hope to contain them.
Yeah, their bench guys, if you're looking at in general, this is what I would like, is they have really an 8-man rotation that get 10 plus minutes. And then you have two other guys, Julian Strother, and then something Najee. What's Najee's first name? Zeke Najee, who got 5 minutes last game. Okay, I'm just looking at one game. But in general, it's an 8-man rotation, and then they're going to have a little bit of other guys do some other stuff here and there for them. But for the most part, it's literally 5 guys. You're going to add in another guy off the bench who's going to get 20-ish minutes, maybe another guy 15 minutes, and that's it. There's not much else to this team. But as Kenny said, Aaron Gordon has done very well. And the reason is it's the dribble drive. Aaron Gordon wants to get to the front of the rim, and he has been able to. But talking about these matchups, I think X plays very well on Joker, and then Murray. You have one guy that does play well, and that could be smart. The problem is, what do you do with the other guys? Because then you got Bane and Ja and Jaren. So you put Gordon and Jaren, Porter, Bane, KCP, and Ja. That makes sense for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and when the game matters most, I don't hate the idea of putting Jaren on Jokic. Again, I think that he matches up really well, and it's your best chance of stopping him or just making him uncomfortable enough. But yeah, I think that's the exact matchup. Like, it's fitting that Sane brought that up earlier of starting Tillman. This is the perfect time to start Tillman. It is. A perfect time to start Tillman. So 100% makes sense next game. The other part is the Grizzlies have to live in the paint. They got to get in the paint early against those Nuggets. And then the guys that get open shots, you got to hit them. Like, it's one of those games where if you're going to win it, you've got to be on point for 48 minutes, and you've got to hope that you make them uncomfortable enough that they aren't.
Yeah.
Because that team, as currently constructed, is better than you.
Yep.
So how do you beat a team that's better than you? You just do what you do better than they do what they do. And you focus in and you give the effort better. So they got to get in the paint early. Ja's got to get going early. Dez and Jaren both have to have good games. And then you got to hope that guys make open shots. So it sounds like, hey, everything has to go right for the Grizzlies. That's because everything does have to go right for the Grizzlies. But I would be really happy with the split here. To be honest, I wanted to win 2 out of these next 4, and getting 3 out of the next 4 is an absolute steal. So we'll see.
What are the next 4? I know we have at Nuggets late game, at Clippers a late game, and then we're getting into January at that point. Then you have
Kings are next, I think.
Spurs and Raptors.
Well, they got Nuggets, Clippers, Kings,
Spurs.
Then you get Spurs, Raptors, and then you got a bunch of winnable games ahead of you.
Yeah.
I think they can win every game from the Spurs all the way through the Suns. I'm not saying they will, but I think every one of those games is winnable.
Wow.
And if Luka doesn't play, they can beat the Mavs. Luka should be at least number 2 in everyone's MVP brackets. Yeah. That team is dog water without him. And they are out of the play-in right now. They're 6th in the Western Conference. Dude, I don't even like Luka. I think he is first team all. Apologies to my wife. Him and Trae Young are both first team all bitching. I hate watching it. But man, that dude can play some basketball. He's so good. He's top of my MVP ballot.
He had the kid and then went to the little thing in the hair. It's not even a headband.
Dude,
what is that?
Now he's completely canceled out all outside noise. He's got a kid in basketball, and that's it. He could care less about everything else. And it is
doesn't care.
What people don't realize is I think this is the first time he shot over 35% from 3 in his career, as far as the season average goes.
Well, he's high volume. That's the issue.
Yeah, well, now he's the highest volume he's ever been, and he's shooting 39%. Right. It's freaky, dude.
It is freaky. But that's all we got tonight, man. Tonight's show is the longest show we've done in a long, long time. And so I want to say shout out to everybody who joined us. The numbers really did not fall off throughout the entire show. It was very good. And so I want to say thank you to everybody for hanging out with us as always. We'll be back here on Thursday. I'll be coming here a little bit later. These next 2 games are going to be much later. We're talking about a Friday night tipping at midnight. And so it's going to be pretty late. Real quick, BJ's got one more thing about the timeline of BC. Supposedly, out of the horse's mouth, he's saying by the All-Star break. So you're talking about, mid-February. Even if you're getting back by March, it's a steal. It's a steal getting him back. It's like a trade. And so with that thinking is, I don't believe he gets moved this season. But I wouldn't doubt it. There are some moves that will be made, especially if you can consolidate some of those guys that we don't love just in general. But realistically, we're talking about, next couple of days, we're off Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, we have a back-to-back. If you can get one of the two, it's great. But then it doesn't get easier because that Kings game is going to be tough as well. And so it's going to be fun, man. The Grizzlies now 4-0 since they have had Ja come back. They're only 4.5 games out of 10th spot, which is great. If you can kind of just bite-sized pieces of the season as of right now while you're climbing up the hill, getting back into it, God, it would be so great. I'm not going to do it, Kenny. I'm not going to bite. No biting right now on that BC comment. But listen, it's going to be fun. Grizzlies basketball is very fun. It has been fun. And so if this is your first time listening, as BJ's is, welcome. Come hang out with us. We're going to be here every single show. The only show we are taking off is that Kings game. I know I am completely off. For some reason, Nate gets bored that night and wants to come on for a solo show for a 15, 20-minute show. He might pop on if the Grizzlies kind of just go crazy versus the Kings. But that is New Year's Eve. I do have little kids. And don't hold your breath on that. But if anybody can just kind of hang out with us, I promise you we'd want to, but we can't. We got to make sure that our families are first and foremost, as yours is as well. So I hope you're not hanging out watching a post-game show on New Year's Eve either. But that's all we have, man. What a great show. It's been fun. It's been a good time. And so hopefully that we can kind of keep this thing rolling, especially onto the West Coast. And so as we kind of keep continuously going on, hopefully they figure it out. That's my
listen. It's 4-0.
Hey, listen,
4-0.
We won a lot. That's now 10 wins. We're heading the right direction. But that's all we got. Let's have a great show. Make sure if you have a chance, don't miss out on Sane's show. I know it's going to be Wednesdays and Fridays, but the other Memphis Tigers content, Tigers are back, buddy, and they are good. Penny's got his team rolling.
Yep.
And right now. But that's all we have. What a great night. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Be nice and tell your friends.